Okay, guys, welcome back to the Pharos Fit podcast. Great to be back with you guys. Thanks for listening in. We are sitting here today on Inauguration Day. Happy Inauguration Day, everybody. And I'm super proud and very excited to be sitting here with Russ, aka Ryan Russell, a member here at Pharos Athletic Club, but also has an incredible story, professional football player with an amazing story. And I gotta start off with this. We were in here one morning, 6 a.m. build classes when we used to have build classes indoors back in the days when we could train inside gyms, and we're on some kind of squat cycle, and me and a couple of guys were like really proud of like building up to like 315 or whatever it was for a few reps. I turned to my left and Russ is over there just squatting 405, boom, 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 just 20 reps of 405 or whatever it was. But it was an incredible sight. And at that point, I didn't really know your story, Russ. I didn't really know your background or anything. So, I learned all this afterwards. But it was like, oh my God, who is this guy? I gotta meet this dude. So, thank you so much for taking time today. I'm so glad you could make it in today. It's a real honor for us to do this. And happy Inauguration Day. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm ready to go celebrate.
Yeah.
I feel like, all of the stress and just anxiety and worry that have like built up over these past 4 years that you kind of forget about. You kind of like get comfortable living in chaos. All that's kind of been lifted. And there's like this big exhale. And I just feel, I think you said today, I feel like lighter today and just good. I feel ready to attack these whatever's next.
Yeah. I think we sometimes underestimate that kind of like general stress, that general anxiety that just sits on us. Yeah. And day after day after day, it just like builds and builds and builds. And we don't notice it. But when it goes away, it's like, oh my God, it's gone.
Yeah. People live like that, in kind of jobs they don't like, or like in towns they don't really feel comfortable in, or whatever it might be. And you kind of feel like whether either you deserve it or just things won't change, or this is just like how it is. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be like this. Yeah. You deserve to like just be happy.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. For those of you that don't know, Russ played football, college football at Purdue. Mm-hmm. Went from Purdue to the Dallas Cowboys straight after that. From Dallas Cowboys in 2015.
Yeah, drafted in 2015.
Then on to Tampa Bay 2016-2017 season. Then on to the Bills in 2018. Yeah. And then you moved to LA after that. But let's go all the way back to Purdue. Let's earlier than that if you want to. Tell us the story, because it's
the story. Yeah,
what's the story of Russ?
Oh my God. The story of Russ. I was born in Buffalo, New York.
You were born in Buffalo?
I was born in Buffalo. So I was like born into just like blizzards and like the Bills, losing 3 Super Bowls and just all types of craziness.
But they're doing pretty well now.
Shout out to them now. Yeah, they're doing awesome. I lost my biological father wasn't in my life at this time. I had a stepfather that was raising me, and we lost him in a motorcycle accident when I was 7. So my mom, being just the amazing woman that she is and like the fighter that she is, she's like, okay, we're going to start over. We're going to pick up. We're going to move to Dallas. Her sister was living there, my aunt at the time, and we're just going to get a fresh start. She'd heard good things. Dallas has great education. Dallas has, sports and great schools and all these great things, which Dallas, that's true. So we moved to Dallas when I was 7. And of course, that's when I didn't initially fall in love with football, but I was introduced to football.
Right.
Everyone wanted me to play some type of sport.
You can't not in Dallas, right?
I was like tall, and Dallas, I tell people Dallas is like church and football. Like, right. Period. That's it. Like, you go to church on Sunday early, you get and eat, and then you go sit in front of a TV and you watch football. Like, guys would just drive hours to go like see high school games. Like, it's the level of fandom and just love there is crazy. So I moved to Dallas. I actually don't start playing football until high school. Okay. Just being with a single mother, as soon as I could work, I did. I was trying to help with bills and just help. I was growing, so I was also like eating a lot. So I was like, trying to help.
I was going to say, you're a big guy now. Were you always big?
I was tall for sure. I was definitely lanky, but I was just like a bottomless pit. Like, that's most guys. Like, you hit puberty and you just start eating. Yeah. So then if you put on top of that being like 6 foot at like the age of like, I think like 13, 14, I hit like 6 foot.
Wow.
It's crazy. So I was consuming so much food that I was like, I want to help my mom with bills. She finally got to a place when I was in high school where she got a really good job around my junior year. And she was like, she's like, you want to play sports, you want to play football, like you want to make the most of your time in high school. And you should. And football started just as kind of like a passion thing for me. I was like, I just like it. I didn't realize, of course, like I was kind of 2 to 3 inches taller than everyone, or I was like a little faster than everyone, a little stronger than everyone, like a little more athletic. And within my junior year, actually, I don't even get to play. I break my freaking wrist, like the first scrimmage that we ever have. Then I come back 6 weeks later and I break my other hand. So now I have like 2 casts on, and I don't get to play junior year. Senior year, I, of course, then go off. Like I just go crazy. And that's when I'm realizing, like, not only do I love football, but football like kind of loves me back at this point. Like I'm really killing it. And scouts are starting to come and coaches are starting to talk to me about, you know, hey, the Baylor scout was here, or the Texas scout was here. So that senior year was everything for me. And I got, of course, like all district, all the state stuff. Even though as a team, we weren't that great. I went to like a new high school. But football then becomes kind of a reality for me. I'm like, I can go to college. Like I remember getting kind of that first scholarship offer and being like, oh, wow. Like my mom's still paying student loans at that time. And it was like, I won't have to deal with that. Like this is amazing. But then, of course, there was a lot of like Texas was like we recruit up to like sophomores. Like we already have like 3 years of recruiting classes. The same with like Nebraska who came. The same with like Florida and all these other schools. So like you can come, but maybe we'll like you know we'll figure something out. Like you'll go to a JUCO close by, or like you'll just take that first semester off and then come the next semester. They were trying to do all these things, and me just being like a freaking 17-year-old kid who just like came off like this high of the season. I'm like, I'm the man. Like if you wanted me to be there, you would make it happen.
Right.
And which is good. I made the right decision because knowing what I know now and kind of like the shadiness of the NCAA, yeah, they definitely could have made that happen if they wanted to. But Purdue comes around and it's kind of like the best of both worlds. There's this perfect mix where Purdue was putting out a lot of NFL defensive ends at the time. They were putting out like Rob Ninkovich, Ray Edwards, Sean Phillips, Cliff Averill, Ryan Kerrigan was a senior when I had just got there. And I was like, Roosevelt Colvin, who has NFL Super Bowl rings. And I was like, you know, if I want to have success in this position, this is a great place to be. And also Purdue had a great education. It was like one of the top schools, pretty much all across the board, really known for engineering. So I was like, I'll get a good education. I'll play football. My mom be happy. I'll be good. And that was kind of just where my mind was. Getting to Purdue, I was a little skinnier than everyone, so I redshirted. I gained like 30, 40 pounds of like straight man. Freshman. It was insane.
How did you do that?
I have no idea. I was eating nonstop. Like eating became a chore. I was like, I need to eat steak every night. I need to drink these shakes in between. I need to do this thing. And then I had never really worked out in high school. Like also starting football so late and kind of being good already, like just having natural talent. I didn't like weights. Right. I was like, I'm here to play football. Like I'm not here to be a freaking
bodybuilder.
Yeah, like I'm not here to do that. And I said that all the time, and the coaches would always fight me and they'd be like, you're gonna regret this. And I'm like, whatever. And then I came to college and I was like, oh shit.
I got to be big. So you started weightlifting in college?
I started really lifting weights and finding out like my legs were super strong and like, you know.
And did you grow quickly? Did your muscles grow quickly?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was insane. I've never like my body was just hurting all the time because it was just like expanding like crazy, like muscles in places I didn't know I had muscles.
But that's why it's so good at that age, because you've got so much testosterone in your body and so much growth hormone, and you start training. It's just like you see results so quickly.
And it's like I was eating shit. I mean, I was eating horribly. I was, I was still like drinking. I would like come in hungover and like squat 500 pounds. Yeah, it's just like stuff where I'm like, I can't imagine trying to do that today.
You were squatting heavy back then in college?
I think I might still hold the record. I don't know. It might have been broke now, but I had acquired the single rep max record for squat. Shit. And I think for power clean, I was really good at like lower body.
What was that? What was the squat? What was the number?
655.
655.
Like yeah.
At how old are you?
Oh, at that time I was like 19 maybe when I hit that.
Shit, 655 at 19, people.
Something crazy. It was insane. And then I never won rep max again because I was like, why would I do that?
Got the record. That's it. You made it.
I was like, I'm good. So started as a redshirt freshman, and that next year started all 4 years, got all conference honors, did some really great things, went to some bowl games, got Purdue kind of turned around there with football. And
you were a defensive end at this point?
Yeah.
Right. And for, in case there's English people listening to this, I don't know what defensive end is. What is a defensive end?
How do I explain it? I'm the guy that tries to sack the quarterback. Like, that's literally all I can do. Like, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, like Aaron Rodgers, all these people y'all love, I try to, like, put them on their necks before they throw the ball.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. So Purdue, I mean, I met some amazing friends there. Really, like, started also kind of, like, figuring out who I was as a person, which was a big thing. just growing up in Dallas, Texas, like is great for a lot of reasons, but Dallas is also a very conservative state. It's a very white state. It's a very, it's like part of the Christian Bible Belt. It's very religious. So there's not really a lot of room for someone who looks like me, basically, and is someone like me to really express themselves or be themselves fully or whatever it is. Right. Racism, in general, I encountered a lot through my just childhood in Texas, and the things that saved me a lot of the time from being racially profiled or whatever it might be was the fact that I played football. Right. That was like the first thing I learned to say to people. Like if I get pulled over by a cop, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, officer, I was just leaving practice. Like just straight off. Cause I'm like, they look at you differently. It's like, they're like, oh, okay, you play football. So that kind of like trumps anything else, which is crazy to think, but that's just how I was kind of trained. So in college, getting away from that, I started kind of figuring myself out a little bit more, like what I liked outside of football, like who I like, relationships, who I loved, what I wanted to be. My own sexuality came into like the sphere in college as well, which was a great journey. I'll explain more about. But while I'm doing all this and I'm like finding myself in football, it's just like this great thing that's giving me this education. I have success yet again, and kind of the same thing. The coach does something like, hey, NFL scouts are here. Hey, guys are coming. Like, you know, make sure you're on time for this meeting. Like, I know you might be late other times, but you got to be here this time. And the possibility comes to mind like, oh, shoot, I could play in the NFL. Like, I could pay my mom back for like all the sacrifices she's made. I could really like change kind of the whole arc of my family at this moment. And everything else kind of went on the back seat. Whether it was art, whether it was writing, whether it was relationships, whatever it was, took a back seat. And I was like, I just need to focus on the NFL. Right. At the time, it's funny, my senior year, my last season, I witnessed an event that probably a lot of people have seen. I see Michael Sam get drafted. And at the time, I was already kind of having questions of my sexuality or like experiences. And I just remember really being, one, scared for Michael Sam because I was like, this has never happened before. Like there's never been like a gay football player out and then enter the NFL or attempt to enter the NFL or anything. And I just was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. You just never, I don't know. To me, in my mind, to be the first at anything is like terrifying. Right, for sure, for sure. You just don't know what's going to happen. And Michael Sam was an amazing college player, SEC, all defense player of the year, just like freaking a champion, just like a dog. And he comes out and goes to the NFL and doesn't make a regular season roster. Even though I think he had like 3 sacks in the preseason and like from what I saw on the outside did pretty well. I mean, obviously,
and you think that was a factor why he wasn't?
I don't know. I'm not in their locker room. I don't know, you know, kind of what the dynamic was. I don't know how coachable he was. I know his athleticism came into question. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've all kind of been told about why Michael Sam didn't make it. Could it potentially be a factor? Of course. Like, I'm not going to. Right. Like, if someone was like, Michael Sam didn't make it partially because of this, I'd be like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But for my own, like, career and my own thing, I was like, that's not an option. Like, it's not an option for me to not make this roster, for me to not have this career, for me to not, you know, do what I love and make this money and help my family. So I get drafted in 2015 to go back to Dallas to play for the Cowboys.
And how did that feel to go back to your hometown?
Oh my God, it was insane. First of all, also just having a chip on my shoulder. I got drafted in the 5th round. I was like, this is bullshit. I was like, this is absolute bullshit. Just because you see guys go early from like big schools and go early for like whatever reasons. And I'm just like, I was a little upset, but that was good because then you come in kind of with like pissed off already, and that like something helps for football. Yeah, but it was insane. Like having Jerry Jones call me and just like me hear that like thick country accent like in my ear, and watching TV and like seeing my name and coming back home and everyone hit me up like can't wait to have you back. Also leaving like cold ass Indiana.
So when you were in the draft, you're watching the draft on TV, or actually are you in the?
No, I was watching it on TV.
You watched it on TV.
I was with my family. I was in Buffalo, actually, back in Buffalo, and just with family. I didn't want to have any friends really around. I didn't want to have like a little party because you just never know how that stuff goes. Like I know guys that year that were supposed to go first round that never got called, and like you know, you got all these people around and you kind of made this big deal about it and now you looking kind of stupid.
So you're sitting in the room, you're literally just looking at the phone, waiting for the phone to ring.
Just waiting for it to ring. And it's like, you tell everyone, don't call me. Like, just don't call me. Because you don't know. You don't know what area code it's going to be. You don't know who's going to. And I'm just like, don't call.
And were you hoping for Dallas, or could it have been anybody? Or
it could have been any. At the time, I was a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. And they actually did call me on the second day. One of the coaches did, to ask me a question, and I'm not going to repeat the question because it was about another player, and I basically told him the same thing I'm telling y'all now, nothing. And it kind of just pissed me off because I was like, don't call me unless you're about to say my name.
Right.
This is stupid. So that took my love for Baltimore immediately. But Baltimore was like when I fell in love playing, like watching defense and like playing defense, because I saw guys like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all these great guys, Terrell Suggs, who played a similar position to me. And just how they played football and how aggressive they played it and how they freaking changed the game no matter who was the quarterback. No shade to like a Joe Flacco, but you know. So it was very, they were the reason I like really loved defense. So I wanted them, but once Dallas called, it was like, Baltimore who? Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I want to go. I want to wear the star, and I want to have success. What else? Get to Dallas. Rookie year, of course, is always a struggle. I don't think people realize kind of the jump from college to pros, because it's like in the college, especially before the championship system, it was like in a great world, you play all your games, you make it to a bowl game, you win, you might play 13 games, you know, max. In the pros, especially as a young guy, you're going to play 4 preseason games. You have like 16 regular season games. Then you want to make it to the playoffs. You're already at 20 games. You want to make it to the playoffs. If you go the long route, that's wild card, that's divisional rounds, that's, you know, conference championship, Super Bowl, that's potentially like 4 more games. So it's like that's double a season. Yeah. Not to mention you're playing bigger guys, you're playing stronger guys, and you're playing smarter guys. Practice is completely different. Your body's changing still. You know, you might not recover as fast as you do. You might have to really work on your diet like I did, and just really, you hit a wall. They like talk about the rookie wall. That shit is real. It hurts. You don't want to wake up. It's really.
I'm kind of fascinated by this. So when you went to the Cowboys, when you first get there, preseason, you're in the gym a lot. Like strength conditioning is a big part of it, or is it more skill practice? Like, how's the week kind of divided up? I
think for Dallas, the strength piece is a huge piece, because Dallas, I don't think people realize, is a big team. Like, especially when I first got there, and their offensive line was like Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins got there the same year I got there, and these are like physically huge people, and they're strong. Like they're not just freaking putty. Like they're rock solid. And they had big corners, they had linebackers. Like everyone was huge on Dallas team, and it was kind of crazy because in preseason, we're doing a lot of strength, we're doing a lot of conditioning. I'm playing these guys that are arguably, especially offensive line, like one of the best. And then you get to preseason game, you see other teams, and you're like, oh, they're not so big. Right. Yeah. And then, you know, being in other organizations later on, I realized, that was very a Dallas thing. Like professionally across the board, training is similar, but for Dallas, they really pride themselves on being.
So for if you take any given day, what does your day look like? Are you up at like?
Oh Lord, I like to get in the building early. That's just something I learned going in.
Jason, early, like what, 8 or 7 or
like 6?
Like 6.
Because I mean, when I got into the locker room, Jason Witten was in the locker room, and he's someone I just like, football royalty in my mind, like. To play the game as long as he has, as great as he has. I was like, I just want to do what he does. Right. So I got there the first day, like I think I'm getting in early. It's like 7:38, and he's already like running through. They're like, hey, Jason, he's already getting his breakfast. He already worked out. He's doing his little rehab. He's doing what he's got, his prehab. He's doing what he's got to do. And I was like, okay, well, how early do I have to get here get here when he does? So I roll in the building at 6. You can work out either before everything at that time. You can work out during lunch, which I hated because lunch is like, either most organizations do lunch like right before practice, or you can do it after practice, which is kind of around like dinner time and around all these other things. So I was like, that doesn't work for me. I just want to get in, as you know here. Like I just want to get in and get the work done.
Sure. And are they writing the program? Does the coach says writing the program for you when you're following the program? Or?
Yeah, there's a strength conditioning, whole staff, and they got a program for guys. There are modifications for different positions and different guys for what you need. But so I wake up at 5:30, get in the building at 6. I'm hitting the workout. I go eat breakfast. I want to get ready for practice. Our first meeting is probably around like maybe 9:30, 10 if they're like kind of want to have like a chill day. So you get in the building, I'm in my playbook. I might get my ankles taped at that time just to be ready to hit the field when I need to. But you're in meetings probably pretty much all morning until maybe 2-3. A lot of teams release people at like 2:33 and then let you do what you got to do for practice at like 4.
Right.
Then you're out of practice for a while. Probably a standard time is maybe 3 hours. Then you get out. Then, like I said, you either work out again or hit your workout for the first time. A lot of people are in the training room getting ice, getting in those tubs, getting the recovery started. And of course, always in your playbook. Then we have meetings over the practice that we just watched and meetings about what's going to happen tomorrow. You might get out the building. If you're rushing, if you're like, I just need to get home for some reason, you maybe get out at like 6:30. Okay. I probably left around like 7:38 every day because it's also the coaches there. Like the coaches are going to be there all day. So you want to, talk to the coach. Hey, how do you think this went? Hey, what do you think about this? Like kind of get that one-on-one time, especially a young guy. You also then have special teams on top of that where most studs in college, didn't play special teams. I'm glad to see that changing now. A lot of like star players are asking to play special teams because they kind of know what it's going to be like on the next level. But I had never played special teams, not in high school, not in college. So I was like at a loss. So I'm in there with the special teams coach trying to figure that out and get that work in. So I would leave the building maybe around like 8. I get home. They want you to kind of study at home on your own, but I'm just like eating, trying to recover, and I'm asleep by like maybe 9 to wake up.
That's a long day.
At 5 again.
And that's 6 days a week, 7 days a week?
That is 6 days a week. Obviously, once the season starts, you got game day, and then you have the next day you come in and it's like a lighter. It's like a flush day. So it's like a lighter lift.
And presumably the strength conditioning side of things tapers down once you're in season.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Especially like as the season progresses, the contact and practice goes down.
Right.
The strength condition kind of comes down a little bit, and it's more about just kind of like keeping what you got.
Right? Yeah. Oh, that's great. So you're just at Cowboys for one season?
One full season. I get freaking injured my rookie season.
I read
like
about
I said,
this,
just not freaking just not being used to like the length and the physicality of the season. So they put me on IR. And I finish out the season on IR. Then I come back that next off season. I'm having really huge off the field issues. I go through a super bad breakup at the time, which was, it sounds lame to say now, but really kind of detrimental to my mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
And my best friend in college, who I freaking loved and adored, roommate, teammate, just like everything, he is diagnosed with cancer off season, going into that season, stage 4 spinal glioblastoma. So that was just a lot on my plate.
Yeah, a lot to deal with. Yeah.
And I unfortunately could not give 110% and be present the way I needed to stay with the team.
Yeah.
So I get cut right before that season. I probably watched the first 2-3 weeks of football, just kind of like hating it.
Right.
Flying out and getting some tryouts and feeling kind of defeated because I think I'm like killing these tryouts. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll call you or something like that. And then I go out to Tampa. And first of all, Tampa, Florida is the most humid place I've ever been in my life. So we have this workout. It's me and one guy.
Right.
This is also the first workout where it's only 2 people. So we're like going back to back. The coach is running us. I feel 50 pounds heavier just from like the mug and the humidity and the sweat I'm now accumulating. And it was a good tryout. But out of all the workouts and tryouts that I had after Dallas was not my best whatsoever. Right. And I'm kind of like getting ready for like the same old thing. And you only bring like a little travel bag because you don't know. You don't know if you're staying or going. You might bring some essentials. And the guy's like, hey, the coach will see you. He's like, we're going to sign you. And then you just stay. Like you don't go home. You don't get your stuff. Like you don't go get your car or whatever. Like, okay, coach, I'll be back in 2 days. You stay. And not only do you stay, if you had a morning tryout, you most likely are going to practice with the team later that day.
Oh, shit. Wow.
So that was my experience. But it's awesome because you're just kind of like hyped up. And
that's great.
You have to then catch up. They're giving you this playbook. You're like, oh God, okay. And then literally like that practice, you're going in. Like it's not like you get a day to watch. Like you're going in that day. You just got off a plane like the day before. It's craziness. It's actual craziness. But
that's awesome.
It's also
and you were there for 2 years, right?
Two so my first season I play a little bit. I don't think I start a lot. I get I think 2.5 sacks. And then the next season I start I think 11 games, get 3 sacks, a bunch of QB hits, and kind of get Tampa one of their best seasons until, of course, now that they have Tom
Right,
Brady.
right.
But kind of start to help turn that organization around. I get to meet great guys and players. That team was really young, like Levante David, Quan Alexander was the team at the time. We had vets like Gerald McCoy, who was really good. Brent Grimes at the time was really good. We still had Jameis Winston as a quarterback. So it was a very young, fresh team with a lot of talent. And now, they add a few pieces. They get Tom Brady, and they're having success.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see guys like Mike Evans, who have been consistently great players in the league, who just haven't really had an opportunity or recognition and finally get to perform on the biggest stage and have success.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting how it's all happening, how it's all coming together for them. And then you go back to the Bills in 2018, right? Back to your hometown.
Yeah. So
how did that happen?
Oh my God. So 2017 to Tampa. Speaking of Tom Brady, actually, we're playing the New England Patriots Thursday Night Football. It's like color rush. I'm in like my all red jersey. I'm feeling great. And there's a play where I have to pretty much cover the running back out the backfield, and it's a blitz. So I should have a safety over top. I'm not going to say any names, but I do not have a safety over top. This running back is like running as fast as he can down the sideline. I'm keeping with him. Tom Brady throws a ball as he does, like the perfect ball. I put my arm out to deflect it because I'm close. I'm pretty sure I nick it. But James White's the running back. He catches it, and then I fall down on like my extended arm. And just with the momentum that I was running, I like roll over it. So basically, like my left arm is out, and then I end up rolling over it, and it pretty much is like next to my right arm, pretty much like behind my back on the other side. So I'm like on the ground, just not yelling, not screaming, just kind of like about to pass out. I've never felt pain like that in my life. I've never had up to that point, even though I had like some injuries in high school. I never had any surgeries or anything like that. But I just kind of get to my knees and I look at my arm and I like try to move it and it won't move. And it just like hurts every time I try to move it. So the doctors come and everybody comes and they're like, it's out. They're like, your shoulder's out. We're going to put it back in. I'm like, okay, cool. Just put it in. Well, first, no, I'm sorry. Before that. So I'm trying to move my arm and like, I've seen football movies as we all have. And I'm like, okay, in the football movies, they just put it back themselves. They just grab their arm and just like push it up.
Yeah.
So I attempt to do that myself. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just throw this back in. So I grab my arm, like my forearm, and I like shove it up. And then I just feel it kind of like slide out the back, like my shoulder, just kind of like go up and through the front and then just go through the back. And then at that point, I was like, yeah, okay, I think I need help. So then the doctor comes and they get it situated. And then he's literally, there's like a video of him. He gets it in, but then he's just like holding it and like walking me to the sideline. He's like just holding it up. So I get to the sideline. We go to the back. We do the X-rays and MRI, and they're just like, yeah, it's just a mess. Me being the person who I was, also knowing like I had signed a 2-year coming out of Dallas with Tampa. I'd signed a 2, so this was like my contract year. So I need to do good. So I was like, they were like, you can have surgery, which will end your season, and it's still pretty early. We don't really know. I didn't know if the team had seen enough to sign me back. They're like, or you could try to take a week off. Actually, I think I got 2 weeks. We had a bye week coming up, and then they were going to Arizona. They were like, you could take these 2 weeks and wear like a shoulder harness and try to play the rest of the game. I was like, okay, the rest of the season. So I did that. I took 2 weeks off. I wore this shoulder harness, which pretty much looks like a one-sided like straight jacket. I pretty much can't move like my left arm pretty much at all, and not like the cute like Velcro ones. I'm talking like the belt and like all the. It was crazy. It was insane. But I play the rest of the season. I sack Drew Brees. I sack Cam Newton.
Play the rest of the season.
Yeah,
wow.
I take 2 weeks off. I play the rest. I probably started more after my shoulder injury than before, and have success. But also, it's a struggle. Like, it's hard enough, but then coming off, you already feel beat up after Sunday. So then coming in Monday and literally not being able to move my left arm at all. And then Tuesday, still can't really move it. And then Wednesday, and then guys are practicing, it's contact. I can't really do anything. By Thursday, Friday, I could maybe practice a little bit. I'm like running around. But you really are just trying to get good and like somewhat serviceable to play the next game. And
so
then
what's the actual injury?
cycle repeats. So then when I the season's over, I go to a doctor. I go to Dr. Andrews out in Pensacola, Florida. He's amazing. If anyone ever needs something, hopefully you don't. But then they take more x-rays and more MRIs. And of course, the damage is significantly more than when I originally did it because I was playing on it. So I tore my rotator cuff, my AC. I dislocated my labrum's gone, my subscap. It was really bad. I went under at like 11, they were like, this will maybe be done. They're like, you should be done by like 4. They're like, if Dr. Andrews get in there, he'll see it, he'll scrape it up. I went under at like 11. I wake up, it's pitch black outside.
Oh, shit.
No one's in the hospital. The nurses are like kind of rolling me out. They're like, everyone left hours ago. Like, we're just trying to they're like, wake up. Like, you got to wake up. And I instantly, find my mom. Like, my mom's there. I'm like, what happened? I was like, what happened? She was like, it is 8:45. It just was way messier than anyone intended it to be. And the doctor told me the next day, he was like, there was a point where I didn't think I'd be able to do it. He was like, I didn't think you'd be able to play, play football, or really, he was like, even throw a ball with your kids with his arm. He's like, but we got it done. The recovery is going to be intense, but we got it done, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. So I set out for what was intended to be a 16-month rehab, and I think I got it done in 10 months.
Oh, wow.
So I get it done. It's funny. The Bills called me out for a workout kind of early on, maybe 8 months in. And I tell my agent, I'm going to do it. I was like, I'm just going to wear a brace that I have here, like a soft brace. I'm going to do it. And I get there, and I actually did really well. But there's, of course, a physical and a medical. Yeah. And the doctor's like, this isn't healed.
Right.
And then the coaches, that organization with Sean McDermott, everyone, I really do love that organization. They are very honest and very just upfront and really about football, which is hard to find in any multi-billion-dollar sport or organization. He was like, he was like, if something happens and we need someone, or if camp rolls around and you're feeling better, he's like, we'll call you back out and we'll see. So they do that. Camp starts, and 2 weeks into camp, the Bills call me back out. I go back out, kill the workout again. Pass the physical this time. They're like, of course you need to I have to sign an injury waiver and wear a brace, which is more into just the politics of sports that we won't get into. Right. But I do it because I'm like, I want to play. And then I'm out there, and I actually do really well. I grade as the highest D lineman in the preseason. The only issue is, at that time, they had acquired another defensive end from free agency who they paid a lot of money. They have Jerry Hughes, who is a staple of Buffalo at that position. They had Shaq Lawson, who's now with the Miami Dolphins, but at that time was their first-round pick, and they were still trying to figure out what they wanted to do. A lot of roster moves. It was also a very young team who was trying to get success, which, we're seeing it pay off now, but they put a lot of work into that, shuffling that roster up. So they were like, we love what you did, but we don't feel comfortable enough going with you in getting rid of these guys that we kind of already know. It's kind of more like the evil you know than the evil you don't know.
Right.
So I leave there, and around the time of my recovery, and really around right before I get to Buffalo, my best friend, who's been fighting cancer now for a little over a year, passes away.
Right.
So in my life, it's like I feel like I've really fought for football, but in some sense lost it. And then my best friend was really fighting for his life and ended up losing it. And I just felt really other than football, I had nothing else in my life to really be happy of or proud of or feel fulfilled by. And I just got to a really dark place where I was like, I need to really love myself, not for what I do or for what I bring or for this sport that I've been blessed and gifted to play. But just love myself because I love myself.
Because up until this point, you've basically defined yourself as a football player, right? And that's all you defined yourself as.
And people don't understand, especially the NFL, it kind of takes that the NFL is not just a sport. This is a whole lifestyle. Everything is about playing better. And that includes how late you stay out and hang out with friends. That includes, your dating life and how you situate that. It includes what you eat. That includes it's everything. Everything will either negatively affect or positively affect how you play. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. So a lot of the things in my life I viewed as not necessarily waste of time, but just this isn't going to make me a better football player. Right. So I'm not doing it. One of those things was also just loving myself and being honest with myself. Yeah. Outside of sports. So you make a kind of conscious decision to come to LA at that point? And I did. I visited LA a few times, and it was just so different from growing up in Dallas, or even in playing in Indiana and all these things, Florida. It was just so much more relaxed and so much more normally in Dallas. I guarantee you go with me anywhere in Dallas. It doesn't matter if we're going to church. It doesn't matter if we're going to a grocery store. It doesn't matter where we're going. People will stop and stare. They will just stare. They'll stare at me. They might follow me. They'll probably ask you questions. Because a lot of the times, especially for a large black man, if I'm going to a nice restaurant, a nice mall, whatever it is, the first question is kind of like, how did you get here? So everyone's they're looking at me, and of course it's because my size too, but they're like, what do you do? What do you do?
Right.
Like, what's going on? And, sometimes I tell them football, and sometimes I just say like, no, that's not it. It's like, that's not it. And it's just like, oh, wow, okay. I can't be a rocket scientist because I'm like 6'5" and like 250. But it's just a lot of that. And I came to LA and no one stared. No one cared who I was unless I was like Brad Pitt or somebody. Like no one gave a damn. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of this freedom. It was so many different people doing different things, and young people really just chasing, whether it be their art or their craft or success or just happiness or love. It was just so different from what I was used to. And I was like, I really love it here. Like, I really like it here. And I got linked up with a lot of great people that were into the same things I was into, whether it be writing or poetry or spoken word or just some type of art form. And I also hadn't experienced a lot of that. So I was like, in my mind, even in visiting in the off seasons, I was like, one day I'm going to move to LA. I was like, I'm going to play football. I'm going to get the big contract. And I'm going to buy the house. And then it got to the point where I was like, there's no perfect time. You know what I mean? Like I can't wait for A, B, or C. Like if I'm going to do it, then I need to just do it for me. So
had you always been a writer before you moved to LA, or?
It's crazy. I had, but I didn't know writing was like a thing. Like
it
was, I had written from a very young age, mostly poetry at first, but then I had, of course, advanced to like more just like short story and long form writing. And I didn't know it was a thing. I always excelled in English classes. Everyone who read anything I wrote was like, oh, this is awesome. I didn't know it was a major. I didn't know writing was like a major in college. I didn't know people like, I don't know what I thought it was. I didn't know people like actually just wrote for like a living. So I never really pursued it because I was like, I do football for a living. But I had always written, and then I get to LA and people were like, yeah, you could write literally anything. They were like, you could write TV shows, you could write, for magazines, you could write books, you could write for podcasts, like all types of stuff. And I was like, yes. And they were like, okay, which one? I was like, no, all of it. Yes. Like I want to do all of it.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. I actually published a poetry book April 29th of that year, which was kind of a whirlwind because at that point it was kind of everything that I almost hadn't say, and it was on the cusp also of my own like coming out journey. So on August, I should know this date, August 29th, 2019, that's it. I came out as bisexual, which I, one, never thought I would do, and two, the date and the timing so significant because literally a week before then I had got a call from the San Francisco 49ers for a tryout. So I went out to San Francisco, and there was me and like 5 other guys, and I killed it. Like completely killed the workout. I was like, I knew in my heart I was going to get signed. And then at that time I was in a relationship with a man. So after having this killer workout and kind of come off this high, which I had experienced in football before, I had great highs in football before, and then felt either them diminish or me hold back or me not even be fully present in this moment because of things like my sexuality or my identity or who I was. And I'd felt that happening again. And in my mind, I was already thinking how to either hide my relationship or hide who I was or what to do. I was like, okay. I was like, well, he'll be in LA and I'll be here, so it'll be fine. And we could visit maybe bi-weeks or off season. I'm already kind of doing that in my mind. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And I meet with the GM and I meet with the head coach, and they were like, you're great. You're awesome. They were like, a player that we had went down the other day. That's why we had this workout. We thought it was like over for him, but it's not. It's just a sprain. He's going to come back. It was like, so we'd rather sign a guy we could kind of just like put on practice squad or just like whatever with than like sign you. And then we have to make all of these movements because he's not going to IR now. So it's like, we don't have that spot technically anymore. They're like, but anything happens, we'll give you a call. They're like, it's awesome. We'll put out good word for you, all this stuff. So, and I never happened. Like I'd been in many tryouts before and killed it, and never see the GM. You never see like the head coach. Like you never see these people unless you get signed. So that was a great sign for me. I was like, okay, football, like I still got it. Like it's still here. Yeah. But there are going to be moments where there are going to be moments that should be the best moments in your life. And you need to figure out why those aren't the best moments in your life. Right. And part of that was me not being just honest with who I was. So that next week I came out, and I guess it was like a big deal. Yeah, I think it was a big deal. And at the moment, I was just like, I just want to be happy. I just want to play football, and I just want to be in my relationship, and I just want to just.
Did it feel like less of a big deal because you were in LA and it's not so much of a big deal here, or
maybe I don't know.
Like if you were in Dallas and it would have been.
Oh my God! If I was in Dallas, that would have been. Yeah, that probably. I mean, and at the time, I had been doing so many things that I never thought I would do. This, I guess, was just kind of one more of those things. Then I did like a journalism TV segment on ESPN, and that was how the announcement was made. And then the New York Times is calling, and the Washington Post is calling, and all these people are calling me and blowing up my phone, and I'm getting, support, but on the back end, I'm getting a lot of the usual, things. Yeah. And it kind of takes on a life of its own. Yeah. And it's people are throwing around that first word that I said I'm like scared about. They were like, the first active NFL player to because Michael Sam came out before he got in, and then didn't make the regular season, unfortunately. And then we've had players come out when they retired, but we never had anyone come out when they were actively pursuing their football career. So it was. If it wasn't a big moment for everyone else, it's definitely a big moment for me. It's the hugest moment in my life. And
well, it's kind of fascinating because it's not just in America. Even in England, with soccer, with football in England, like it's still like a taboo thing. And I still don't think there's any like active player today who's come out like.
No, that they love telling me that. They're like, you're the only player in any male profession in the Big Five to come out. I was like,
which is crazy because
I get it.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and it's just so strange how it still exists.
Yeah,
because when you're in LA and you're everything's so open, but then there's still this stigma in sports that's just. Doesn't go away. Just
literally everywhere else. Politicians, we see, queer politicians, people in LGBTQ plus community and politicians, in entertainment, obviously, literally every other field except male sports. And even if we look at the counterpart of that, women's professional sports is hugely progressive, hugely politically active as well. I mean, even just seeing in this past year and a half what the WNBA has done for Black Lives Matter and just for equality in all. And they have the full support of their leagues. Most of them have the full support of their teams and their owners. And I'm just like, why aren't we doing that in male sports? There's so much power in male sports. We have, when LeBron James speaks up, there shouldn't be someone on the other end telling him to shut up and dribble. Like that shouldn't happen. This is LeBron James. Like I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing on the court, and he's someone, who has a lot of influence and a lot of power and could do a lot of good off the court. And if he wants to do that, why would you stop him?
And at what stage of your football career did you kind of know you were bisexual, and how long did you have to kind of live with that kind of like? Well,
I kind of figured it out, not even figured out. The question came up in my mind in college. And I told my best friend, like I said, who isn't with us now, in college.
Right.
And at that time, there's so much misinformation about bisexuality. I'm not going to get into all that. But like, I didn't know that was like a real thing either. Bisexual and writing, literally the two things I do now. Didn't know they were real things. And I was like, okay. So in my mind, growing up in Texas, I'm like, am I turning gay? I was like, is that what happens?
Right.
So then I have an experience with a guy. I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that. And then I start dating a girl and I fall in love with her. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I still like that. I was like, so I really don't know. And then the NFL's like, hey, we want you. So I'm like, oh, okay, I just won't figure this out.
Right.
Like I'll just
everything just
do
kind
something
of
else.
went on pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, your emotional development went on pause, basically.
Definitely.
So now we're in LA and you're still writing, obviously, and that's a frequent thing, and you're still actively pursuing the football thing. How do you kind of see the next few years panning out? What do you, in your ideal world, how does this look?
Oh my God. Well, I'm writing my memoir now. I have
this is going to be a movie, right?
No, this is maybe maybe. Who knows? Yeah, let's speak that into existence.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I've been working with a lit agent and people at Avitus Creative Management to get that done, and we're in the final stages of that proposal and getting that worked out. So in a perfect world, that book starts getting into production. I've written a lot of it. We get that out. I get a call from whoever, whenever, go play football there, and I just do what I was put on this earth to do, which is play football and write and love who the hell I want to love. So that's my awesome. That's my perfect world.
Because how old are you now?
20. I just turned 29. So
happy birthday for this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that.
I just turned 29. And I feel great. I mean, you see me moving around.
Yeah.
So hopefully I move around.
This guy can fucking move. Trust me. So I think throughout this whole thing, like you've shown amazing strength, like through all this everything that you've encountered, whether it be like, the sexuality thing or the injuries or the loss of your friend. Where does that strength come from? Does it come from your mother? I mean, you mentioned your mother, and I'm thinking.
Definitely. I think it definitely comes from my mom, just being a single mother in any time and any, no matter where you live or the color of your skin or anything like that. It's hard. Like being a parent, as you know, is hard.
Yeah, for sure.
And my mother not only never backed down, she always not just rose to the occasion, but overseeded it. And I had an amazing childhood. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of things, but I felt so loved and so protected and so cared for. And my mom, she never let anything faze her. Like, of course, she's a human being. You know, I found out as I was older, she had to, of course, love herself and find ways to take care of herself. But as just my mom, she was awesome. She was always there for me, no matter what. I always got everything I needed and then some. And I wanted to be like that for her in return, of course, once I went to the NFL and started making money, and just for anyone in my life. You know, I want to be there for them no matter what I'm going through, no matter what life throws at me. If they tell us no, we'll find someone to tell us yes, or we'll just make it a yes. We'll make it ourselves. So that definitely comes from my mom. And a lot of it comes from also football, which is why I'm still so, like, I will not speak badly on football, on sports culture, just to speak badly. Of course, there are comments and there are challenges and there are critiques, as we all have of anything that we love or anyone that we love. Like, the fact that I love football and specifically the NFL organization, it pushes me to further the NFL and to challenge them in the same way that they've challenged me, just so that it could be a better league for not just me, but people coming up into football, people who watch football around the world and all these things. But football gave me a lot of that discipline. I didn't have a lot of male figures in my life that, other than coaches, you know, I didn't have brothers. I grew up as like a single kid, and football team and teammates, that was my first like brotherhood.
Right.
Like I got
a lot of
so
value
much
from that.
Yeah, I got so much from that. Accountability, being respect, hard work, dedication, all of these things. And if you could wake up at 6 a.m. and freaking knock heads with the best of them, you can wake up 6 a.m. and do anything. Like that's just my mindset. It's like people are
teach you to be tough, huh?
Yeah, it's just like it's no point in me complaining about this now. I've done such harder things.
Right, for sure. How do you feel about the kind of like the future of the NFL in terms of the concussions and the injuries and that sort of things moving forward?
I haven't seen the movie Concussion. My mom saw it and she like had nightmares and was like calling me like, don't play football. And I was just like, I'm not going to watch it because I already, I'm a bright and intelligent guy. I know what I need to know about concussions, and I know if my body is ever, especially from the shoulder, like if there's ever comes a question against just like my health and well-being and playing football, I will choose my health and well-being. But I like where the league is going in terms of just being definitely more conscious. They make just different decisions. There's different rules now, which people feel a certain way about the rules sometimes when they change. But, if it stops you from getting a concussion, then that's a great thing.
Do you think you want to be a parent?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to be a parent. I don't know. Right now, I'm thinking like just, man-on-man coverage, just like one kid. 'Cause as soon as you get like more than like 2 or 3, then y'all got to go to zone coverage, and you got to. I don't know about all that, but I definitely would like to be a father. And
I think you make a great father. And,
thank you. I appreciate that.
I can personally recommend it. It's the best thing. It really is. It's And I wanted to ask you, like, if you were to like give advice to kind of like your 10-year-old self, having gone through everything you've gone through, what would that advice be?
Oh my God, what was that? 10-year-old me. Honestly, I would tell 10-year-old me specifically to always bet on yourself. There's times, especially growing up, where for whatever reason, whether it be society telling you can't do something, or whether it be a parent trying to protect you, telling you, hey, don't do this, don't act like this, always bet on yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, whether I live in LA, Dallas, Tampa, anywhere, I wake up with me and go to sleep with me every night. I look at me in the mirror every day. No matter what's going on, I'm with me. Like, I'm the best teammate I got. So at the end of the day, if it's a decision about how I need to live my life, what I need to do with my life, what makes me happy, I'm betting on me. I'm doing what's best for me in that sense. And I feel like, there's a lot of things in the world that take us away from that. A lot of it's disguised as like, don't be selfish, or disguised as like, oh, well, we just don't do that. Or like, that's just not how football works. That's just not how, that's bullshit, most of it, if I'm being honest, because if something's put in your heart, if you were brought in this world, if I was brought in this world to be a poet and be a writer and be bisexual and be a football player, then all those things go together, because that's why I was brought here. That's who I am. Like,
I love that.
that's just what it is.
Awesome. So cool. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking time. It's been great to talk to you. And I think you'll all agree, guys, that's an amazing story. Russ is a great guy, an amazing guy. And we're so grateful to have him here at Pharos. And we'll catch you soon. Thanks, Russ.
Appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Boom.